Hello, everyone, and I would like to start off by saying I have the distinct pleasure of having some amazing guests with me, but it would be remiss for me not to talk about where we are. So today, we are filming at the Gotstyle new location at the Well, and with me, beside me to my left, is Yannick Bisson. Now, you might recognize him as the lead actor, Detective William Murdoch on Murdoch Mysteries, but also he's brought two wonderful guests with him, Dominique and Mikaela, his daughters. Today, we're going to dive into everything around charity, being an actor, being a dad. So join us. Yannick, Dominique, Mikaela, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. First of all, how are you?
Doing great.
Yeah. Excited to be here.
Yeah. What do you think of our surroundings in the Well at Gotstyle?
God, it's stunning. Yeah, I love being around clothes, so I'm very happy in the store.
Oh, we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that. And I see that actually you're wearing some pieces right now, and I think you look fantastic. I think they agreed and supported that.
Yeah, and actually you ended up jumping in and making a couple suggestions as well. But yeah, this is from the shop, so I'm feeling pretty good, feeling spoiled.
Oh, that's great. And a big thanks to Melissa and the team at Gotstyle.
Absolutely.
It's been fantastic and accommodating. But let me dive right into it. So first question for you. Murdoch Mysteries. Love the show. Now, for the time you've been on that show, how do you keep reinventing and reinvigorating yourself for that role?
So as a performer, it's most of the time easy because the stories do that for you. You show up, context is established for you, the sets are elaborate and interesting, that much more than a regular show because you're going back in time a little bit. So it's easy to sort of show up, get ready, and fall in, and it's like an old suit, pardon the expression. You just put it on, it's comfortable, and you are familiar instantly. But then it's also, conversely, it's a bit of a marathon. We've been doing it for a long time, and each season is quite long, and the hours are long. Boo-hoo. But it does, span spring, summer, fall. You start going into winter, and there are long days, and some days you're like, man, I'm not, 35 anymore.
We're not going to even market that. And it's interesting that you're talking about obviously the clothing and how that I think for some actors acts as that point of empowerment. I'm trying to figure out if that was kind of part of the reason that you guys started your brand. Tell us a little bit about that.
I think there was definitely an aspect of like growing up in such a creative environment, like getting to go to set, like all the shows he's been on the past, and getting to step into that world. And I think, like you're saying, a huge part of that is fashion.
Yeah.
And so I think it definitely fostered part of like our creative energy and just our love of being around like new things, exciting things, and things that were always changing.
Yeah, and I think having parents in a creative field, it fostered our creativity a lot, and there was a lot of room for us to try different things, experiment, get to be creative. We weren't raised in a way of like, this is how you have to live your life, you have to follow this exact path, and you have to do it that way. It was very much like, well, what do you want to do? What do you like? And like, we loved playing Barbies and American Girls and dressing up, and so clothes were always kind of a part of everything, and so they were really great at like fostering that.
Get across there. And for your brand, what would be the describing words to say if I was to pick out your brand from other brands? What would you describe it as?
You want to take it away? You want me to
Yeah,
we really want to focus on it's like elevated basics, timeless pieces, and we want them to be things that like you rewear.
Right.
One of our slogans is born to be reworn, because it's pieces that they're high quality, they're made well, and you're just going to reach for it time and time again.
We have just found that like with the current cycle of fashion, it's turning over so quickly now, and there's a lot of pressure with social media and stuff for people to kind of like keep up. And we started to realize like it was really hard to just get like good, well-made pieces that were made for you to wear them over and over and over again. It wasn't for like, oh, I'm going to a party, so I have to buy an outfit for that, and then I'm never going to touch it again. So we really focused on making pieces that we noticed were missing in our wardrobe, and that what we knew we wanted to reach for time and time and time again.
Oh.
And it seems like your stuff can be dressed up or down a
Yeah.
lot too. Like it goes vertically.
Yeah, and that was like a big part of the like re-wearing process is things that can be styled up or down and things that you can get a lot of wear and longevity out of. So definitely timeless, elevated, and yeah.
you've gone through the process of sourcing some really high quality fabrics so that the stuff lasts and it's hand sewn.
Yeah, I
locally.
studied textiles. I did fashion marketing and merchandising, and I studied textiles in school. So
So this is
fabric.
naturally going to happen.
Yeah, so fabric is like actually
Yeah.
one of the most important parts, and it's interesting because you see a lot of misinformation on social media now, like people who are like, if it's polyester, the brand has all the audacity in the world to charge over like $5, and it's like, well, no, that's
There's a
not
reason,
actually
yeah,
true.
yeah.
Like it's actually a very interesting fabric that you can do so many different things with, but I digress. But so studying textiles and stuff, I had a really big understanding of like fabrications and what fabrics are going to wear well, what fabrics can sit certain ways and everything like that. So yeah, like my dad saying, fabric became like kind of the center of the business for
The
us.
thought process around that. And for both of you, what kind of textiles do you guys love to work with when it comes to those kind of materials that you work with?
It's interesting because we have like even right here, she's wearing
Yeah.
a cotton T-shirt that we made.
Yeah.
And it's like we
Love
love
this
working
one.
with like
Yeah.
these stretchy, super comfortable cottons. And then I'm wearing a tweed
Yeah.
that we're also like obsessed with because it's so fun and it's got the glitter in it. It's like it has endless
We
options.
all talked about it as you walked in. We were like, "That's fine. That's the
Yeah,
difference." As
thank you. I'll take it off the
That's it.
Yeah, when we saw this fabric, we
Yeah.
were like, we didn't even have a design in mind when we bought this fabric. We just saw it and we were like,
That
oh, we
needs to be
need
out
it.
there.
Fantastic.
So we actually will, we'll build the pieces around the fabrics that we love, but it really depends for us. Like we have silk in our product lineup, we have the cotton, we have the tweed. Like I think we like more kind of like natural fabrics because they're just gonna sit really well and like,
A natural flow.
and they're gonna be
Yeah.
flattering to your frame
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of what we really lean into. And for our summer collection, we're introducing linen,
Nice.
and
I
linen's
love
amazing.
linen.
We
I love linen.
linen.
I love linen. I love
So
linen.
we're
even
really
crushed,
excited.
Like even and again,
Yeah.
textures and depth. The crushed look, I think it looks.
Yeah,
good.
so we're really excited to work with
Yeah.
linen for our next collection because it's just so comfortable. So
That's
Yeah, I'm looking forward to linen.
I mean, it's nice. It's beautiful. As a matter of fact, I saw a couple of things here in the
Yeah.
store that are just spectacular, and I'm
So I've
like,
got the basket for you.
I'm not going to be able to rock that because it's going to be wrinkled. I just can't
Can't deal with the
linen. I
wrinkles.
have a hard time with it.
And
see,
you know,
that's
there are some
why
people,
we like
right?
structured linen.
Yes,
That like
yes.
sits a bit more tight and pulled, so it doesn't have as much room to
See the
wrinkle.
technical aspect there. was just
I'm out of my depth here, obviously.
You are being supported by two of the best. So I don't necessarily worry about it. Just let them dress to you. And one thing I thought was super interesting was the comment again on timelessness. And I kind of wanted to bring that back towards your time again at Murdoch Mysteries. So could you tell me of a time that really sticks out in your mind that you kind of are going to take away with you when, if and when Murdoch ends, as kind of like that highlight moment or aha moment that you really want
Oh man, there are so many.
I'm sure.
There are so many, and you know, when you have moments where you're able to contribute the most, or you're sort of at the ragged edge of taking chances, and for me, that's when I direct. And I will forever remember. Season 4, I had the opportunity to direct the first time. One of my producers really egged me along and pushed me along and made it clear that I was supported. And that was Laura Harbin, and I'll never forget that. I basically said, oh, so like all these things in my head, I can actually, I have license and I have a team and I can do this. And that feeling once it was cut and delivered and handed off to the network, I'll never ever forget. That was a really, really special moment for me because regardless of how it went, it was like I went out there on the skinny branches. I took that chance and it turned out really well.
Would you say that going through that process was probably one of the best learns you also had on the show in terms of stretching maybe your capabilities and what you could do? That was a great
Absolutely, because I was already into my career. I was already 20 some odd years as a on camera, and I'd done every format: commercials, films, sitcoms. I'd done just basically every format, and a lot of roles were similar. A lot of roles were different. Good guys, bad guys, and so it was completely different, and it was a wonderful experience.
That's fantastic. Now, in terms of that experience, how do you balance being the detective versus the dad? What does that look like? I've been saving that one for a couple of times.
Well, so my job is like a bunch of sprints, a bunch of sort of moments in time. You prep, you work, you shoot, you go, you move on. Being a dad is really the long game, really the long game. And we've had some chats even recently where it's like, man, I remember when, as a family, we were going through this, and I, in retrospect, really struggled and felt like I was letting you guys down, and so it keeps going. It never ends. I have an adult daughter who has a child now, and there are some things I can still contribute, but my job, it spits and spurts and sort of hopefully meaningful at some point, but the big game is being a dad. Yeah.
No, it's on that side. And it's great to hear that concept of family, because I think for a lot of people, they see the glitz and the glamour, and they don't see the actual heart behind it. And I think that's beautiful for you to articulate that here live. I mean, genuinely, you can tell there's a lot of love here and genuine support, which is great. And that kind of leads into my next question about the support you do outside the acting world. So with your wife Chantel and her being on the board of directors, and you guys obviously supporting for One Golden Night. Tell us a bit about that charity, how that came about.
Well, actually, that's part of the reason why we're involved in a charity that is specifically focused for kids, because we were so blessed. Our kids are healthy and wonderful and vibrant, and we saw, we were introduced to some causes along the way. For example, Dominique pointed out one, Mikaela pointed out another, and so we saw, hey, we've been really, really lucky, and there's a huge need here for kids in Canada that are going through something that's not going away, and so we decided to really put all of our efforts behind Childhood Cancer Canada and to help raise research funding, because truth is, out of every sort of dollar that gets raised and gets put toward cancer research, only about 7 cents of that would be going toward childhood cancer research, and it's the easiest to cure. They have so it's kind of counterproductive, and so it was a no-brainer for us to get involved, and Chantel the more so, because she has such a huge heart, and moms are really the ones that take care of the world.
It's great to say yes,
Yeah. So that's how it started. And One Golden Night is the new format of the gala to help raise awareness, gold ribbon, Cancer Awareness Month, and also sort of putting together two of the arms of childhood cancer research funding for that purpose. And One Golden Night, like I said, is the new gala night.
That's fantastic. I think it's a charity that's super important. I think you're absolutely right when it comes to the fact that it's probably the easiest to cure, or at least to deal with at a young age.
Yeah.
And it's so concerning to hear that 7 cents actually just makes it there versus the amount of money we hear about cancer research and cancer support in general. So as a general PSA, thank you for doing that kind of work.
Yeah, so all the work that Sick Kids does, for example, they rely on childhood cancer research, and they basically administer all of the care that they give with help from all of that. So it's important to note that they're a big entity, and they do still rely on the work that smaller charities do, such as this one.
We've had the pleasure at Spencer of speaking to some amazing people. That includes people who do the Fired Up Gala for the Fire Award there. We have Sick Kids, Scrubs in the City, which is another charity, and the All-Star Gala. These are great galas, and it's great that you're obviously alongside that supporting.
A lot of galas in this
A lot
town.
of galas. And he said it with the Murdoch. But you're right, and I think that's also maybe to show Canadians as a whole how much we truly care, about making a change on something that's so life-changing for so many people that we maybe not hear those stories. And that kind of brings me nicely to the understanding of support. Now, you've talked about a bit of, having tough times and it's long hours and they can be long shoots. And obviously you guys growing up, what does the support look like in the Bisson household? What does the support shape up like?
Hands up.
Hands up.
We moved a block and a half away from them.
Yeah.
So it's like if we're having a bad day, we're like, okay,
We just
guess we're gonna go for morning coffee at Dad's house.
Yeah.
We actually call it Cafe Yon. We're like, is
Oh,
Cafe
wow.
Yon open yet?
Wow.
And then we'll just like chat over coffee. And like yesterday, my dad and I just went for lunch together, and I was like, these are the things I'm going through. Like, let's chat about them.
Yeah, my mom and I were out for lunch while they were doing that. We had our own lunch going over things.
Separate power lunches.
Yeah. I think like a huge support system is being an entrepreneur and starting your own business is really hard, and there's a lot of discouraging moments.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't like talk about that. They don't like to be like, oh, I feel like I'm like failing, but like there's a big part of that with entrepreneurship, and so
And
to have-
acting.
but that's the thing because our parents were always entrepreneurs and always in acting and in a creative industry where it was kind of like touch and go.
Yeah.
We were always taught that it's not always going to be like glitz and glamour and exciting, and there are those like moments where you're really struggling through it, and just to keep going through it. And so because of those lived experiences, not only growing up, but like now when we're having those really low points where we're like, oh my God, why did we start a business? What are we doing? Like, oh, we're crazy. Like, this is really hard. They're really, really great pillars of strength for us, where they're like, it's hard right now, but like it's X, Y, Z, and these things can change, and you just got to keep working at it, and blah, blah. Like, there's all that support and understanding, and it's very, like Mikaela said, very hands-on support in our house, and just a very good level of understanding where it's like they've lived so much of it too that they know what we're saying and we can relate.
A point of reference.
Yeah.
And there's like it's very similar when it's like, same with you, like if you put your art out there, there's only so much you can do after that point.
Yeah.
Like
It's out there.
you can't really control how people receive it. You can control what their take on it is. All you can do is like do your best with it and put your whole heart into it. So like us with our clothes, him with Murdoch and any other roles he does, like so he understands that kind of vulnerability.
Yeah.
And that upset if it like doesn't go exactly how you want exactly when you do it.
Yeah.
So I think it's great to have parents that like completely get it, even though it's a different field.
Yeah.
They can relate to it really well.
And it goes the other way as well. Like, these girls are super awesome at seeing the need the other way. So the schedule that I have to run part of the year is insane. It's being not nearly as important, but it's like doing a nurse's double shifts every day. So we're 12, 14, 16 hours, but every day, 4 months. So I don't have regular people hours to do certain things, and the girls are like, Dad, I'm going to take care of that for you, and that's a huge help. And it's the same with Chantal. Chantal is also, they got the entrepreneurship bug from somebody.
That's part of the inheritance there.
She's got her hands in a lot of things, and these guys will routinely jump up and help her out in the way that she does with me and with them, and it goes both ways, and it's just awesome. Routinely we talk about how they're our favorite people. Like,
Well, I'm hearing the coffees, and
you got to make a lot of coffee.
you gotta
Make a lot of
But
coffee.
it's something to create an environment for your kids where they feel comfortable to not move too far, but also to come back. I'm not saying everybody's situation is different, but I think you've got to take a marker of congrats and a small pat on the fact that they're doing their own thing, standing on their own 2 feet, doing it. But at the same time, you're setting an example with Chantal. So congrats on that.
I'll take that.
And I was going to ask you guys, sharing your dad with the public, what is that like? Because I'm picturing going out and having a meal not being the same for me as it's for you guys when Dad's there.
Yeah.
I think for the most part, like, people are incredibly respectful.
Yeah.
Like, for the most,
For the
like,
most
people
part.
are great.
I think also the thing is, Murdoch is such like a specific look.
Yeah.
So like when he's out in his like regular clothes and his glasses, and I don't
Weird
people
squints.
people get that sense of like, oh, he's familiar, but we don't really get too much like.
No, context is a big sort of.
Yeah.
If you're not wearing the hat and the music.
Get your
and
pocket
the
clock.
stuff.
What's it, pocket
The wool
watch?
suit,
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and people that do recognize me are generally pretty nice kids, and Chantal notice a bit more than I do. I don't know, I kind of oblivious sometimes, and I think I have more autonomy than I do, but, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's great. People are most of the time very nice, and they approach with apologies and stuff. It's all good. It's part of the gig, and I'm grateful for it.
And you know what? I think the entirety of Canada is grateful, and the world, for what you've contributed to Canadian TV and film here. So thanks again. Appreciate it. This is flowers today. That's all I'm doing. All day. But I also wanted to understand from you as well, what lessons have you taken from your acting career and moved into that philanthropic charity side? What's some of the key learns that you can move across?
Well, you always have to be generating. Whether it's somebody else's gig or one you're trying to make, you have to be pushing. You have to be sort of leaning into the harness, as they say. And that goes without saying with charities, because you are knocking on people's doors.
Yeah.
You are asking, you are presenting yourself, your product, your saleability, and the validity of your ask. And those things are I think, very similar. And in my case, I've been very, very lucky. So I can make the jump to asking people and putting myself in uncomfortable places, asking for people to donate, because I've been so lucky. And it's like, it's a small price to pay for me to say, hey, you know what, why don't you do without some Starbucks this month and contribute to, kids. Because I've gritted it out, man. I've done just about every trade you can think of. I hear a saw out there. I was a framing carpenter. I helped build houses near the neighborhood where we live. Do you
drive by and kind of point out that? Does he do that? Okay. I built that. Okay.
I delivered pizza too. I don't point those houses out.
But you're right. But I get what you mean in terms of the fact of really having to push forward. I think having that mindset is obviously part and parcel to the entrepreneurial push, right? It's the fact of I'm going to take whatever it is, my idea, my love of trying to help other people, and I'm going to push that forward. And sometimes it's uncomfortable.
It is. Yep.
Yeah. But sometimes it has to be if you want to get change, right?
Yeah, and that's one thing I'd say show business taught me, and I hope I've been able to teach the kids, is that, success or even just making it doesn't come without uncomfortable moments, doesn't come without putting yourself out there, doesn't come without days that suck bad. And, that's the sort of double-sided thing of success. It's like, please don't forget.
Yeah. Risk and reward.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, my last question is about the future, and I will start with both of you. The future. In terms of your brand, in terms of things that you guys are working on, what can we look to see from your brand for the future?
We have a drop coming out in about 6-ish weeks we're aiming for. And we are so excited for it. It's our summer collection, and it's just it's to die for.
And we're planning a pop-up to coincide with that. So we're gonna have a little pop-up, a little event. We're partnering up with other female-owned entrepreneurs,
Fantastic.
businesses, and everything like that. So we're really excited about that. But that's going to be us introducing Geta out into the real world, not just e-com. So we're very excited about that too.
Spencer will be there the entire way to cover that.
Oh my gosh,
Because
yes.
I know for us, it's amazing to see that business. It's amazing to see that model, and again, the entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And also, I want to ask you, obviously, for One Golden Night coming up, what else is on the agenda?
Well, that's
That's
priority
priority
right
one,
now. And that's also, I mean, you heard it here first. That'll be the first week of filming for Murdoch season 18. So we'll be hard back at it,
Yeah.
and I have to share that block of directing with another director at the same time, so I can actually fulfill my duties for One Golden Night on the 30th. But we'll be reaching episode 300 this year.
Congratulations! Thanks. My goodness. Okay, 3 episodes.
I remember the party for the 100th.
For the 100th.
Yeah, I
Yeah, they were there.
They were there.
know. I remember when you got the show before it even existed.
I need to ask, what was that night like? What was that? What was that?
I think I was in like fourth or fifth grade.
Great, right.
And he drove and came and picked me up at school. You were already in the car. And he just like told me
Yeah.
that he got the role, and we all were freaking out, screaming. And then we drove around listening to Hot by Avril Lavigne on repeat because
Such
we
a
all
good
loved
song.
the song
We love
so much.
that
And it was
song.
just so fun.
Yeah.
And it was like a spring day. It was one of the first like really nice days. And we were just like all like over the because we knew how hard he'd been working and all the like other jobs he'd been doing before Murdoch in between his previous show. So we were just, as a family, completely elated.
Yeah, very exciting.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a big contrast because
Big day.
I had sort of begun the process of walking away from showbiz at
Right.
that point, which is not something I talk about a lot, but it had come to a head. I had to take care of my family, and there were other things that were equally interesting to me, and things that I wanted to be able to excel at, and so that didn't happen, but Murdoch Mysteries happened instead, and it was a huge day. It was really special.
And I feel like we still every season get that like excitement when it's like, okay, it's going again. We're like, oh, whoa, cool, like yay! Like we still have those like moments each season where we get really excited and
Yeah,
really proud.
That's really, again, by contrast, that's why at 2 a.m. on a Friday I'm still pushing hard,
Of course.
because
Yeah.
I have had not plenty of times, and I'll never let up for that reason.
The gratitude and the
Yeah.
gratefulness kick into high gear.
Yeah,
Second wind.
yeah.
2 a.m.
I might whinge a lot,
But you'll get through it.
but I'll do it.
I love it. I love it. I want to thank all three of you for your time today. It's been absolutely a pleasure. I can't say much more. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Thank you.